Hey, everybody, welcome to the Warrior Podcast. This is Frank Lardino. We have a lot going on in the news today. I wanted to talk a little bit about gun control. It's very difficult for us to have a reasonable debate about gun control because most people don't know anything about guns. And, we're not going to debate today whether guns kill people or people kill people. And maybe we'll get to that. But I just want to give a little quick tutorial on how guns work, how they operate, so we can better understand what we're talking about when we have this debate. And I think it's an important debate, by the way. There's a difference between a fully automatic weapon and a semi-automatic weapon. A fully automatic weapon means you can pull the trigger and hold the trigger and the weapon will continue to fire. Okay? That's a fully automatic weapon. And in most states, fully automatic weapons are completely illegal. It's illegal for citizens to own fully automatic weapons. A semi-automatic weapon is a weapon where every time you pull the trigger, the weapon will fire. All right? So basically, as fast as you can pull the trigger, the weapon will fire. All right? This is a semi-automatic 9mm pistol. 9mm is about the most used and standard round for handguns around the world. The military uses 9mm, the police use 9mm, and most often people who have a gun for home defense, a pistol, they'll choose the 9mm round. The 9mm round is not that big. This is a dummy bullet. It's not that big, but it does have penetration and it's powerful enough to kill somebody. So this weapon right here is a Sig Sauer 9mm. It has a 15-round magazine, okay? So the reason why I'm showing you all this is because this pistol can be fired at the same rate of speed as an AR-15 rifle. It is as fast as you can pull the trigger, is as fast as rounds will be fired, okay? When this pistol runs out of ammunition, okay, I'm going to move back a little bit here so you guys can kind of see this. There's a little button. You push the button, the empty magazine ejects. But before that happens, when the last round is fired, the gun will look like this. It will be in the open position. And you'll know the gun's empty because it'll be in this position. You will not be able to fire the weapon. At this juncture, you would eject the clip or magazine. You would take another full 15-round magazine, insert, and now the gun's ready to fire. Now, I just fumbled a little bit there, but that whole process, if you have a little bit of experience, will take less than a second. So now I've just reloaded this gun with 15 rounds, and I'm ready to shoot as fast as I can pull the trigger. Okay? So the only difference between this gun and an AR-15 is that an AR-15 shoots a larger caliber round, and because the barrel's longer, it has a longer range. So rifles are typically used for hunting, and they're used in military situations because they have a longer range. This pistol is effective up to maybe 50 yards is a good shot with a pistol, whereas a rifle can be several hundred yards. All right. So the point I'm getting at is there's a big push to ban what would be referred to as assault weapons, which predominantly is the AR-15. But this gun right here, I've just shown you, I can load this thing in less than a second. All right, and this will fire as fast as an AR-15. And some combat experts believe that this weapon is actually more effective in close quarters and short range. So the point I'm trying to make is, if this is all that's left for people to defend themselves and for people with mental illness to go and buy a gun to shoot up a school, if this is all that's left, they're going to do the same amount of damage as an AR-15. Now, if we want to go to something a little simpler, this is a revolver. This is neither a semi-automatic weapon classified or a fully automatic weapon. It's a revolver. A revolver has a cylinder in it like this, and inside these are where the bullets go. They go inside here. And so this revolver will shoot as fast as the trigger can be pulled. It can shoot just as fast as an AR-15. It can shoot just as fast as a semi-automatic pistol. The difference here is that you don't have a magazine. You literally have to push the empty shells out, and then this is what we refer to as a speed loader. You can put the speed loader in here. The gun's supposed to be this way. You can do a little twist, and then all the bullets are in. This is a fully loaded weapon now. So while this may take maybe double the amount of time to reload as a semi-automatic, it's still an effective kill weapon in close quarters and can be used rapid fire and can take out a lot of people. Okay, so if that's all we're left with, then that's going to be able to kill a lot of people too. And when I say left with, that means if they could successfully ban all semi-automatic weapons, it isn't going to make a difference. And just to show you what a AR-15 looks like, this is an AR-15. This is the thing they put on the news all the time that scares everybody, and it works the same way with the magazine. The magazine, which is much bigger, and I'll show you the size comparison. That's how fast the magazine goes in, and then when it's time to reload the magazine, it pops out just like the pistol. You put another loaded one in, you're locked and loaded. Literally a second. So the pistol and the rifle, they work exactly the same way, and as fast as you can pull the trigger, that's as fast as you can fire the gun. It's not fully automatic. It is semi-automatic, all right? And I'm going to show you the difference in the size of the magazines so you can understand this. This is a 15-round capacity 9mm magazine. This is a 30-round capacity AR-15. Do you see the difference in size? I mean, so an individual can carry a lot more of these than they can of these. These are more heavy and cumbersome because the cartridge, the bullet is much bigger. These are smaller and more easy to maneuver. So if somebody really wanted to go shoot up a place and they had a semi-automatic pistol, they would be able to do as much damage or possibly even more damage than this because they could carry more ammo in this one than this one. Because this is 30, this is 15, I can carry 3 or 4 of these to equal one of these, okay? So that's just a little tutorial on the types of guns. And AR, many of you don't know this, or you falsely think AR in the AR-15 means assault rifle. It doesn't. It means Armalite rifle, because the Armalite company was the first company to develop that weapon. So we call them AR-15s because they're Armalite rifle style weapons, but they're not assault rifles. They were never given that designation. So that's a little tutorial. So now many of you don't care what I just said, and you're like, no, we have to do away with AR-15s. So let me give you a little bit of history. In this country, anytime the government has banned something, it has led to a spike in organized crime and black market activity. So in the 1920s, we had Prohibition, where alcohol was banned and made illegal, and that was the rise of the mafia, was during Prohibition. Anybody could get booze anywhere. It was a little more hidden, out of plain sight, but there was a big black market for booze, rum running and speakeasies, and anybody would be able to get alcohol or liquor during Prohibition. But what spurs out of banning stuff like that is organized crime. Now we have a lot of substances and drugs that are banned, fentanyl, cocaine, things like that. Anybody can get fentanyl and cocaine, even though it's against the law. Because the black market, the supply and demand, necessitates that people find a way to bring in the drugs and sell the drugs to the public. So now, before we talk about banning any type of weapon, okay, AR-15, let's talk about how many guns are out in the country. I've heard estimates on the news, 300 million, 400 million, 500 million. It's usually in that range. So let me share my logic with you on this. When my grandfather died in 1973, he was 79 years old, I believe. My grandfather had like 20 weapons when he died. These were guns that he collected throughout his entire life. Nobody tracked them. He didn't necessarily purchase them at gun shops. He traded for them or whatever. These guns are absolutely not traceable. In other words, you could run a serial number on any one of these guns and it probably would not go anywhere because the guns were never registered in the system. All right. We've only started registering guns in a centralized system maybe in the last 20 or 30 years. So prior to the last 20 or 30 years, all the guns that have been produced and all the guns that have been, manufactured in this country or purchased in this country, they're all out there unbeknownst to anybody. Okay. So my contention is there's probably more like 1 billion guns in this country, not 300 or 400 million, but more like 1 billion. And of that billion, most of those guns were produced in a previous era where there was no, monitoring of who had what guns. Okay. So with that said, if the government came out and said, we are banning all weapons, not just AR-15s and AR-15 style weapons, but all weapons, the AR-15, the revolver, the semi-automatic pistol, riot shotguns, hunting shotguns, 22 rifles, lever action rifles. And by the way, I didn't mention lever action rifles are the same, you cock the lever, pull the trigger, they shoot pretty fast also. And those are going to be out there as well. There is no way that the government will get all the guns. It's impossible because the government doesn't know where all the guns are. And if you think a person who owns guns that his grandfather had that are not traceable and that nobody knows about, that he's going to turn in those family heirlooms, you're mistaken. So I want you to use some reasoning here and understand that no matter what laws they pass, whatever has ever been banned in our history, there's been a black market to support the demand for those things, right? The next point is the criminals who have the guns, many of those guns are untraceable. And by untraceable, typically what they do is they will scratch off all the serial numbers on the gun so the gun cannot be traced. And because many of the criminals buy their guns on the black market, these guns are specifically made for criminals because they're not traceable. If somebody steals one of my guns, like this gun here has serial numbers on it, and then they go kill somebody, they're going to trace that serial number back to me. And hopefully I will have made a police report out saying my gun was stolen. Here's the serial number of the gun. So if someone does kill somebody with one of my guns, it will be traceable back to me. Okay. So that's where we're at, guys. The simplicity of it all is banning AR-15s. What it's going to wind up doing is it's going to take the guns that people have for protection and sport, whatever it is, it's our choice. Okay. It's one of our freedoms. It doesn't matter what they're, it doesn't matter if you're not approving of somebody owning a gun to shoot targets and to hunt. It's our right to do so. And in a worst case scenario, gun ownership is there to defend against a tyrannical government. So many of you think that the government is always acting on behalf of the people. And, you might be right. I don't think you are. But if you're not right and none of the citizens are armed, then we're screwed, right? There's nothing to fight back with. So in summary, they can ban all guns. They're not going to get all the guns, and they're not going to get any of the guns from the bad guys. So what that's going to do is going to leave us exposed as law-abiding citizens wanting to protect our our property and our loved ones and ourselves, it's going to leave us exposed to the criminals, and crime will go up, right? So, in summary, other guns work as well as AR-15 style weapons, and if they take the AR-15s away, it's not going to make a difference because people are going to find a way to kill. And now that takes me to the next subject. There are problems, and then there are solutions to problems, right? The solutions to the problems cause can cause problems downstream, and there's always something upstream that causes the problem we're trying to solve. Okay, so if we solve the problem by banning guns or banning a particular type of gun, right? The problem that creates downstream will be leaving citizens unprotected and the bad guys still having the guns, right? So we've solved what we perceive as one problem and we've created another problem. But the bigger issue is what is upstream that is causing people today to go into schools and shoot people up. What is causing that? What are causing these mass shootings? And I argue that anybody who wants to go kill a bunch of people, they are mentally unstable. And in many of the cases, this mental instability has been documented. It's been documented with their psychiatrists, their psychologists, whatever mental health professional. They've documented and diagnosed some type of mental illness, and they've prescribed medication. So I think one of the ways we could stop some of these shootings is to identify who these people are and make sure that they can't buy any firearms. How hard would it be if doctors, mental wellness doctors were required to report to, for instance, the state police, that we have a patient who has mental illness and they go into a database and they're not allowed to buy firearms? I mean, wouldn't that be a simple solution? And just so you know, guys, we have gun control. Illinois has some of the most stringent gun control in the nation. If I go buy a weapon at the gun shop, I cannot pick that weapon up for 48 to 72 hours, depending on what type of gun I buy. And they call that the cooling off period. In other words, they don't want to give anybody the ability to buy a weapon who's angry and wants to murder somebody and then, leave the store with the gun and then go kill somebody. They require a cooling off period. And that makes sense to me. In addition, when you buy a gun in Illinois, you have to have an FOID card, which is it's an identification card where you've basically applied through the state police and they've approved you. Okay. Well, it would be nice if people who had mental illness would be part of the database where the state police would look at the application and say, no, this person's in the database and has mental illness. We're not going to issue this card, which they need to buy weapons. Okay. This stuff isn't that hard. That to me would be a better upstream solution to the current problem, because all of these people who have shot up schools or mass shootings, if you will, they've all had mental illness. They've all left some type of trail that indicated that they had problems. Okay, so we need to do a better job in identifying people who have mental illness, and we should not let them buy guns. Some of you are going to go, oh, well, that's discriminating against people with mental illness. Hey, do you want these shootings to stop? So I would say let's give this a try instead of banning AR-15 weapons, and then the next push is going to be to ban these, and then the next push is going to be to ban these, and then we're going to be a nation fully exposed to the bad guys and the bad government if the government deems itself to do so. Guys, we don't want to be changing the Constitution, okay? Anytime we start to move off of what the Constitution says, we get in trouble, right? COVID, there was terrible censorship during COVID. Some of the greatest doctors, scientists, and virologists, they were silenced. It's coming out now in the hearings in D.C. that the government was not allowing people to have a voice. They were not allowing debate against the vaccine. And whenever we do that, we get in trouble. And now we have a huge aftermath from the vaccine. And we're going to talk about that in great detail in some future podcasts. So remember, an AR-15 is a semi-automatic rifle. We have semi-automatic pistols, and we have revolvers that they shoot all as fast as you can pull the trigger. A gun is a gun. It's made for what it's made for. And to call it a weapon of war, right? This is the new catchphrase. Every gun that's ever made has been a weapon of war. Every type of knife has been a weapon of war, right? That's what weapons are really made for. They're made for protection and they're made for war. So all these weapons that I described to you, they have been used in warfare, in modern warfare. So that's my message today. One, we can't get rid of the guns. They don't even know what guns are out there. So how could they get rid of all of them when they don't have any way of knowing what's out there? That's A. B, if some genie came along and made all the guns that legal gun owners own disappeared, the bad guys are still going to have guns. And if the genie made those guns disappear, the black market will be in full swing, and anybody will be able to get guns on the black market. It's the way the world works, folks. Money and power. Money makes the world go round, and people are going to find ways to get guns here, just like they get drugs here. So that's my message for today on gun control. Love to hear your comments in the comments section. Thank you for joining me today on this podcast. This is my second podcast. We're going to start rocking and rolling and pumping out a lot of content down the road. This is Frank Lardino with the Warrior Podcast. Stay safe, everybody, and let's all elevate and celebrate each other. Take care, everybody.